Welcome back to Liberty Nation TV. This is Scott DeCasenza, your host. Joining me is Mark Angelides, our managing editor. And Mark is in proximity and interest close to the Mouvement des Gilets Jaunes, the Yellow Vest movement in France. And Mark, it's been, I think we're a month away from a year now into that movement. And there was some initial kind of intense coverage of it, and we haven't seen much since. And certainly in the legacy media, but even in alternative media, it seems to be generally a forgotten kind of protest. Why aren't we hearing about what's going on with the Yellow Vest movement?
Well, perhaps the main reason is because a lot of European countries appear to have in place what's called a D-notice. Now, we're not sure about this because you can't actually admit to having a D-notice in place until after the fact. But a D-notice is essentially where media organizations agree that it's in the best interest to not cover something. So this can be it can be anything from a scandal within Parliament, or pretty much anything really that the government requests media do not cover. And it used to be called a D-notice, has a slightly different name now. So it appears that there is a D-notice in place on reporting in the UK because almost nothing. Most people wouldn't even be aware that this is approaching a whole year that these things have been going on. And I suspect that the similar situation is happening in other European Union nations. And it's also possible that American media is somewhat following the lead of the European nations to not cover it, to not give it the full voice that it actually deserves.
There's a American legal professor and blogger called Glenn Reynolds. I think I'm correctly attributing this, where he talks about the role of the American news media in the Obama administration was to take any scandal and cover it with a pillow and smother it until until it went away. So it sounds like that's the kind of coverage that we're seeing there. Maybe we're putting the cart before the horse here. Give us just a quick of the thumbnail sketch for people who may, because of the lack of coverage or who haven't heard of it. For instance, what is the Yellow Vest movement?
Okay, the Yellow Vest movement is actually one of the few genuine grassroots movements taking place in the world today, and it's protesting the Macron government over taxation, the added taxation from green policies that are being applied to the people of France, and a wealth of other things which really fall very much under the globalist umbrella. And these people are gathering every weekend. They're essentially shutting down Paris and rioting with the police. Oh, they're not rioting as such, but there's a lot of police attacks with water cannons, rubber bullets, tear gas. This is every weekend this is happening. The entire Paris is essentially shut down.
You know, in Hong Kong, we've had news that at least one protester has been killed by the Chinese authorities. Is it true that there have been deaths in Paris as well?
Certainly have, yeah. We actually don't know how many, but there have been at least quite a few. Up until even before this year started, 2009 started, there were at least 8 recorded deaths, and from then on, it's been very, very hushed up. We're not hearing much. The only place you really do hear it is when people put things out on Twitter, and of course, you can never truly trust Twitter as a legitimate news source because you don't know who's putting the news out there. However, the fact that these things are taken down very rapidly perhaps signifies that deaths are ongoing.
Why, Mark, is Hong Kong seeing so much attention and Paris seeing little to none?
Well, that's the big question. You see, to my mind, this is all about globalism. Now, President Emmanuel Macron, he is and was, still is apparently, the poster boy for the European Union, which is the template for globalism worldwide. Now, what happens is the Gilets Jaunes, it's very much an anti-globalist phenomenon. But whereas Hong Kong, that's an anti-communist phenomenon. And I think what's happening is, at the moment, you have all the media is covering what's happening in Hong Kong because they assume, and in my opinion, they assume wrongly, that the people of Hong Kong and the people of China, once they're free of communism, will automatically become globalists. And they have seriously underestimated or reckoned with what China and Hong Kong actually are. It's not in any way, and I do speak with some experience of China, it is not in any way a waiting globalist nation. It's internationalist, certainly, but in no way globalist. And I think that's why at the moment, Hong Kong is getting all of the press, and the Gilets jaunes, 1 year of riots in its capital city. Think about that for a moment. A whole year of riots, and it's not getting a peep. You're not hearing a word about it in the mainstream media. And it's because it's anti-globalist, and the mainstream media is pro-globalist.
He's not a globalist, but he has lived around the world, including China and currently in the UK. He's managing editor for LibertyNation.com. Mark Angelides, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Scott.
And for everyone else, please visit LibertyNation.com for all your conservatarian news and analysis, and go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss any more LNTVs. Thank you for joining us.